I thought the Yolamod TA15 was going to be the most legal power allowed on the market. Subsequently, sunset. Then came the Rhombus Ripple, and I thought that was going to be the most legal power allowed on the market. Never even allowed to be released. Then came the Adidas Metalbone LP, and I thought that was going to be the most legal power allowed on the market. Turns out, still needs to be verified. And I certainly never thought it was going to be an all-foam paddle that would push the boundaries of legal power. But then, this paddle arrived on my doorstep. So let's talk about it. How's it going, everyone? Rafa the Pickleball Tech Dude here, and today we're talking about the Body Helix F1 Terracore XC Elongated. The only thing more elongated than the paddle, apparently, is the name. If you've never heard of Body Helix before, that's how I know you're not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button because we're trying to catch Pickleball Effect, and you're going to want to catch my upcoming videos so you can tell your friends that you know way more about pickleball equipment than they do. The Terracore XC is technically under Body Helix's Flik program, which is very similar to how Selkirk has Selkirk Labs. The paddle launches today at $190 retail, but my discount code RAFA brings the price close to $170, and I'll have that linked in the description. And while this review was not sponsored financially or otherwise by Body Helix, using my discount code does provide me a small kickback that lets me know that you appreciate the work that we're doing on the channel. A quick look at the paddle's internals tell an interesting story. What we've got here is a fully foam EPP core with a network of holes on either side. This is in stark contrast to the carbon true foam, which first piloted this EPP core idea, but has larger holes in the sides, and all holes go straight through the paddle core. When we look at the paddle specs on paper, there's really only two things that stand out to me, and number one is the relatively low swing weight. This is an elongated paddle shape with a handle length that is a little bit lower than the typical at 5.25 inches. And typically paddles shaped like this have much higher balance points, resulting in higher swing weights, typically in the high teens to low 120s. However, this paddle manages to keep its swing weight at under 115, which is a range that is maybe slightly higher than what we come to expect from a much more maneuverable and faster in the hands standard shape paddle. And the second thing to pay attention to is the power and pop, which both sit near the very highest echelon of each, not just for fully foam cores, but for all legal paddles that I've hit so far. Not only is this the hardest hitting legal paddle that I've seen so far in 2025, when compared to other full foam cord paddles, which importantly from what we've seen so far are much more durable than their polypropylene counterparts, there really is only one other that even touches it in terms of power. That all sounds well and good so far, but I'm sure you're wondering, how does it actually feel on the court? Let me show you. Great, so now that you have the full picture, here's some final thoughts and comparisons. To reiterate, the Flik Terracore XC Elongated is of the highest echelon of power and pop that I've tried so far. So if you are a player that can already generate your own power, or someone who struggles to control high-powered paddles, I would highly recommend staying away from this paddle, as it is going to get you or your partner killed on a pop-up 9 times out of 10. And if having enough room for two-handed backhands on the handle or having a very large sweet spot that's very forgiving are priorities to you, this also may not be the first paddle that I would go for. The 5.25-inch handle length is enough for two-handed backhands. I found it manageable, but anybody with very large hands will probably find it a little cramped. And furthermore, with the sweet spot size, it is a decent size itself, but it does feel a little bit more narrow and is certainly not very forgiving towards the edges, which I believe is a result of not having any perforations towards those edges. The best weight setup that I found personally was 4 to 5 inches of half-gram density tungsten tape from either Pickleball Effect or Bodhi Pickleball, both linked in the description, starting in the very center of the bottom corners and going up the sides. But those things aside, to put things very simply, if you're looking for the most powerful yet most durable and also lower costing alternative to some of the more popular power paddles out there, like the Yola Pro 4s, like the Franklin C45s, like the Paddletech Bantams, then this is the closest that I've gotten so far. But lastly, let's address the orange elephant in the room, being the Vatic Pro V-Core, constructed with a very similar looking core to the Terracore XC. I don't want to spoil too much for that full review, but here are the basics of the comparison. Essentially, the V7 long handle doesn't lag behind the Terracore XC in terms of power by too much. But to make an apples to apples comparison really quickly, the V7 short handle exhibits that the V-Core lineup overall have smaller sweet spots compared to similarly shaped paddles, and they are also unforgiving, very similar to the Terracore XC. They are also, compared to similarly shaped counterparts, balanced much higher, have higher swing weights, and are less maneuverable. There are two glaring advantages, however. Number one being that there is variety in that lineup already. If you want a bigger, slightly more forgiving sweet spot, then you can go for the Bloom V-Core, and you'll definitely get that, and you'll just have to sacrifice a little bit on the power side, which is maybe more helpful for those that can't control super high power paddles like the Terracore XC. And the second factor is obviously the price. Don't get me wrong, the Terracore XC is very, very well priced. It's probably below the current market average. And if you are, again, looking for the most powerful alternative to the popular stuff that is more durable and is better priced, Terracore XC is a great choice. However, if the fact that the V-Cores are going to be sub $100 and include discount codes, and for the moment have more variety of lineup, even remotely piques your interest, it might be worth holding off for that full comparison. But that's going to wrap up everything regarding the Body Helix Flik Terracore XC Elongated today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it here to the end, make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below whether you'll pick this paddle up or whether you'll be skipping out. And with that being said, I hope you all stay happy and healthy, and of course, out on the courts until the next one. Peace.